I'm focused on His spirit, cause it keeps me from His fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when He took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie.
Hello, welcome back to News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about this viral story about this woman who's harassing a woman working at Target, and she had on a Charlie Kirk shirt, and so people found out where she worked and were contacting her employer, and they're, really plugging up the phone lines and stuff. And actually, the woman who was harassed by this woman said, she doesn't really want her to lose her job. So, very nice old lady, a nurse who's like a Karen, I guess. That's the phrase that people use for people who flip out on this kind of stuff. We'll talk about that. Also, a story breaking about we hear these incidents all the time about a murder suspect who ICE confirmed was held before, and they had released. And it's just really amazing how the media really, really, really wants to focus on all these crazy sob stories and enrage and inflame people to make them feel like ICE can't do their job or law enforcement can't properly cooperate with ICE. And then we get in situations where people are harmed because they're not detaining violent people who shouldn't be here in the country in the first place. And it just leads to more chaos. And also, I wanted to also play some clips about the shooting that happened in Australia. By the way, there was a shooting, of course, that happened at Brown University, and it's just like chaos and incompetence. And I don't know what's going on with the local law enforcement. Is just a crap show. I want to report on it, but it seems like there's all this crazy stuff that's just things that are confirmed, not confirmed. They don't want to say. They know that they said something before opening fire, but they don't want to say what was said, which other people were saying it was, Allah Akbar and stuff. And were there cameras around? Were there not cameras around? Did protesters in the past convince the university to take down cameras? There's just a lot of crazy stuff that's surrounding that particular case. And I guess once that picture kind of comes into more focus, we'll talk about it some more. But it really seems like the FBI needs to really, I guess, take hold of that one. But I also think if we have time, I want to play this clip of a video that I saw on TikTok of this young woman. She's a deconstructionist and was talking about how she can be a better God than God. And I just did a quick reaction. It was like, okay, then do it. And that was the end of my video. But there was a video that I tagged that was like, actually, this one's a really good point by point response. And I just thought it was a nice little teaching moment that I would like to share, of course, if we have time, which I think we will. So, fingers crossed. Before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go blacknews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost to stream and run my site, all that good stuff so you guys can support. I very much do appreciate you guys. I do want to just also point out, even if you guys can't purchase an item at the store, or if you can't donate a little bit here or there, I understand times are tough, and maybe you just don't want to, that's fine. But if you still want to help, just doing things like liking and commenting and sharing really do help. If you're watching on Facebook, Facebook really changed stuff around, so they really monetize everything. When I post something that's text or a photo or a video, all that is monetized. The more people comment, the more people share, the more people like and engage with the content, the more that actually does help. And so you may not be personally putting money into the website or something like that, but just engaging does really help and support. So that's someone today had wrote you're getting paid $7K for this. I was like, no, that's really stupid for I just to break it down. If that rumor started because I think some organization or something was registered with FARA and was going to pay influencers or whatever, and people like split up the numbers and did some kind of math and assumed that particular influencers were going to get $7,000 a post. I don't think it's actually like a confirmed real thing, but I don't know who these people are, if there are actually people who are being paid $7,000 per post. I know people with a lot more engagement and followers than I have who say things on TikTok. They're like, if I was getting paid $7,000 a post, I wouldn't stop posting. I wouldn't sleep. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Like, but if someone was getting paid that, you can't, they should be registered under FARA, registered as a foreign agent. Because if Israel was be paying that, someone should be getting paid, for that. So there's that. My engagement, that would be a huge breakthrough for me financially. But my reach wouldn't justify that kind of money. Like if someone wants to throw it at me, that'd be great, I guess. But it just doesn't make any sense from that standpoint. But everyone who does leave a 7K comment on something like Facebook, they are like helping put more money in my pocket. It's not 7K, but it's not nothing. So thanks. Thanks for that, I guess. But yeah, just engaging a little bit, whether it's on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube, all that, does actually really support. So you can support in some kind of way, including watching. I know some people watch live and some people watch back later, and that's fine. And I thank you for your time. But other than that, you guys can go to the website and check out articles, videos, etc., and share those things as well. You guys can check out the different merch that I have, different t-shirts and things like that. And you guys can check out the different books that I have available for you guys to read. I have 19 altogether. I have children's picture. I got to take a new photo because that doesn't have, actually I got to order some because I'm out of some, but that doesn't have bigger in it. So I think that's all my other ones. Because yeah, there's an abortion one in there. Of course, God is blatantly against abortion. Maybe not, because I don't see the abortion book. So that's not all of them in that photo. So I guess I got to take a new photo with all my babies. And but I have children's picture books, middle grade chapter books, and like all the way to like new adult and stuff across different genres, and also some nonfiction books like, of course, God is blatantly against abortion. And someone in the comment of the video where I talked about when I was like, if you think you could be better than God, then do it. Someone was like, oh, I could be better than God, and then they're like, I don't condone slavery, which if they lived in the 1800s or before that maybe they probably would. People are products of their time, after all. I'm not saying there wouldn't be good people who would rise up against that, but the people who rose up against slavery and the abolitionists were Christians, right? So there's that. If you weren't a Christian of the time, I just kind of doubt that if you were a product of the day, that you would just automatically be against slavery. But they're like, I help the needy, I wouldn't tell people to kill children, etc., blah blah blah. So I just like, how do you feel about abortion? And they're like, it's sad, but free will. I'm like, you think I'm supposed to think that you'd be better than God, and that's how you react to an injustice in this world? It's not even good logic. Like, people say it all the time when you ask about abortion, like, well, I don't like it, but people have free will. God gives us free will. I'm like, God gives free will, period. If that's your justification for something evil being legal, then how does that not justify someone who wants to rape someone? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I hear it all the time, though. I hear it all the time. So anyway, I deal with silly things like that. And of course, God is blatantly against abortion, because again, I heard it a lot, and so I push back against dumb things that people say. So you guys can check out that book. If you're interested in bigger, which is behind me, that's my children's picture book. That is also, there's a link in the description that'll take you to where you guys can purchase a signed copy of that. So go ahead and enjoy, and I hope you love it. And thank you to those of you who have read some of my stuff and left some good comments and reviews and so on. So anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about our first story of the day. The first story I want to tackle really quick is actually a local story, and there's not much to say about it right now. I only saw this article from Oakland Press, but last night we had Bible study. It was our like Christmas Bible study. We have a Bible study group every Wednesday, and we eat dinner together and we chit chat about. There's a sermon, and and after the sermon we all put together our 2 cents about it. And so last night we played a game, and so it was like, guess whose sermon titles were these, and was one round, and the next was like, guess these quotes. And then the third round, my sister has apparently been sketching people the back of their heads from the sound booth, and we had to guess the blurred image of who was what person. So my team did end up winning. There were some quotes and that I had that I said that I didn't guess, and I thought was my youngest sister, and vice versa. So I didn't nail every time it was my quote. I'm like, that sounds like me, but it could be someone else. And so anyway, it was but we ended up pulling out a win. But anyway, before we left, my sister saw that the Target where I used to work at, someone rammed a truck into the Target. And they rammed a truck into the Target because they were trying to steal the ATM. They thought they could just go in and with the truck steal the ATM and get out, and then find some way to open it and take the money in the Target. Now, you might be asking yourself, why didn't they steal other things, like, I don't know, items in the store? But then maybe when it had some good value. Why steal the ATM from Target? Which Target does prosecute. Target does have cameras, and that particular one, FYI, does have good cameras and so on. So it's just a wildest thing. So they there was a picture. This one just has it boarded up. This photo in the Oakland Press, but there was a photo going around on social media with it actually like busted up. Um, so yeah, Auburn Hills Target of Michigan. This is um where I guess I had my first real kind of job. Um, and I did not enjoy it too much, but I didn't really enjoy my time at Target, but yeah, they just drove straight in to try to steal the ATM. Just crazy. So I don't. They said it was a couple people who did it. They were in masks. Some people were like, maybe they were crackheads or something. I don't know. What a crazy plan. This reminds me of, there was a Flagstar Bank in Pontiac where they tried to steal the ATM. They were unsuccessful. But for the longest time at that particular Flagstar, you just didn't have an ATM because of crazy people trying to do garbage stuff like this that just really harm the whole community. It's just crazy to do. I'm like, to steal the ATM, to mess up the store, and it's a pretty busy store. In Auburn Hills, like it's right near a grocery, it's right near a Meijer, it's right near the mall. It's a decent area. It's um people are obviously holiday shopping for Christmas, and Christmas isn't it next week? No, I don't think it's next week. It's what, 9 days from now? Oh gosh. Is it next week? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's a week from today, actually. How interesting. So, I I just can't fathom this kind of stupidity. But anyway, investigation in Auburn Hills police detectives continues after a stolen pickup truck was driven into a Target store on Brown Road early Sunday. An apparent breaking and entering and stealing to steal an ATM. So that happened on Sunday, and because I didn't hear about it yesterday. Several suspects are being sought as detectives chase down leads, according to Deputy Police Chief Scott McGraw. As of late Tuesday morning Tuesday, no arrest had been made. McGraw told the Oakland Press that officers responded to the store located at 650 Brown Road at 3 a.m. December 14th for what was described as a breaking and entering in progress. When officers arrived on the scene, the suspects had fled, abandoning the stolen black 2019 Dodge Ram pickup truck, which had been used to gain access to the store. McGraw said, based on findings from the investigation so far, there were several people involved in the incident, and all were wearing masks at the times. Again, they don't know who did it, but wow, just a crazy, crazy thing. I hope they nab them. This is so stupid. I can't stand thieves, and I especially hate people doing stuff like this that just really inconveniences the whole dang community. So I hope they catch them, man. Just so dumb. So anyway, I don't know how often this might happen in other neighborhoods, but the Flag Star that I know that people broke into, tried to steal the ATM, that's not that far from that Auburn Hills. Um so just madness. Just madness. More kind of madness that's been going on as of late. There was a woman who went into a Target. It wasn't this Auburn Hills Target, but it was another Target. And she started harassing a woman who was wearing a red Charlie Kirk shirt. And for those of you who do not know, Target, their policy as far what you can wear is you have to wear red and khakis. That's the policy. Uh, Now I did look it up today, and I found like a little blip in a handbook. And you can't, as far as like wearing logos or things that are political, you're not supposed to wear things that are political, as in like it's for some kind of candidate or something like that. So you couldn't wear like a Trump shirt or a Kamala Harris shirt or something like that. But as far as wearing a Charlie Kirk shirt, I guess that would be left up to interpretation for the managers or whoever. I'm sure other people noticed that she was wearing a shirt like that and didn't see a problem with it, because otherwise they would have gave her a vest or told her to change, or there's shirts there at Target. you know but this woman got harassed by a customer.
Why?
They let you wear that shirt here?
Yes.
So
Why? Why are you taking my picture?
why are you wearing that shirt? You're working. It's not a
It's a
Target
red
shirt.
shirt. I can wear any red shirt.
It's not a plain shirt.
It doesn't have to be
It's a Charlie Kirk shirt.
Yes. Yes, I know.
Are you fucking stupid?
No.
Why the fuck would you wear that? You're at work at Target. That's not a Target shirt. It's not a plain red shirt. You support a racist.
It's not racist.
You support a racist.
He's not a racist.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he fucking is.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stand here and argue with you.
You're not. You should go get your manager. You should not be allowed to wear that at work. Unacceptable. Unfucking acceptable.
That's your opinion.
No, the opinion is he's a fucking racist and you support him.
That's your opinion.
And you should not be allowed to wear that. This is going to be taken above your fucking head. That's insane. Insane.
Have a nice day.
Insane. Piece of shit.
So I don't know, the audacity of people to do stuff like that, and to, I don't know, think you're gonna shame this woman who's working put it online, and everybody will just come around you, rally around you, shame that woman, and what, I don't know, you go viral, maybe you make a couple bucks on TikTok or whatever, and you just think that you're gonna look like a hero for cursing out an old lady who's just trying to do her job. So I hated doing soft lines. Soft lines was like the clothes. That was the thing that I probably disliked the most. I barely had to do it. When I would work the truck, they had like specific people that they would usually try to like do. There was someone who did makeup, put the makeup up. There was people who did shoes, and the soft lines, like the clothes and stuff. Sometimes you'd have to they'd shift you to certain places. I would mostly just have to do, we'd start with like chemicals. We'd unload the truck, we'd take all the stuff to the different areas, and then we would like they put big groups in certain areas, so we would tackle like chemicals like first, like the detergent and things like that, and keep kind of moving down into like the deodorant and toothpaste and things like that. And we'd move into food, and yeah, because then when we go to like the cosmetics, we didn't really do the cosmetics, and um then we hairspray, things like that, and eventually we get to the food. I left that Target, the one that they broke into recently, before they completely converted it into like a grocery store with like there was like milk and some other things, but like as far as like having fresh uh produce and stuff, I left before they started doing all that stuff. But yeah, I didn't like to do clothes. I didn't like to do clothes. Maybe because it just was how it was arranged. I just kind of wasn't used to the layout. I mean, maybe I could have got used to it and be fine, but I didn't like it. So this is really annoying to me. Her messing with this lady as she's just trying to do her job that I wasn't particularly too fond of. But you can wear a red shirt. Red shirt, khakis is the actual dress code. And you can't wear things that are political, as in like endorsing some kind of candidate or something like that. As far as it being Charlie Kirk definitely was the head of a conservative organization, so you can guess someone's politics, but it's not endorsing a particular candidate and stuff. So as far as the store having an issue with that, I would think that that is going to be up to people's interpretation, whether they're going to be okay with that. Did people wear BLM stuff back then? I mean that I wasn't working at Target at the time when all that stuff was going on. I don't think I was shopping there. I haven't really shopped there too much since I actually stopped working there. I could probably count on two hands the amount of times I've been in the Target. But people continuously calling Charlie Kirk a racist and attacking people because they support Charlie Kirk or was wearing a shirt is one of the reasons why I've made, I guess, so much content since Charlie Kirk died, because they are using it as if you would speak up for him, they do lump you into the category of being a racist. So many people have said so many terrible things to me for correcting misinformation about Charlie Kirk and things that he said. Even in a simple video of like proving Charlie Kirk didn't call Cenk Uygur a racial slur, people had racial slurs that they decided to throw at me, because they don't appreciate, I guess, me defending him at all. Now, you would think in a video like that, people would go, oh, I really didn't like Charlie Kirk, but people like really are smearing him in this particular instance. And then we could talk about the next instance, but that's not even what they want to do. So they just want to believe that he was a racist and you support a racist, therefore you are a racist. And in my case, I'm a race traitor. And they really want it to be that simple. Now I can, this elderly lady, she didn't have time to argue with this woman on the clock, and she just said very sweetly, that's your opinion, and went about her business, because you don't have time to argue with customers all day. You're supposed to say, how can I help you find something? That's what you're supposed to say to all the customers, and let that be that, not debate politics on the sales floor. I It's just really disrespectful. Like she didn't even have to confront her. She could have I don't know, called somebody, talked to management, but why are you, she asked, why are you recording me? She wanted to embarrass her. So anyway, people did not take kindly to her harassing that elderly lady. And so people found out who she was and they found out where she worked, and she worked for Inno Health, and the CEO actually spoke out about it and wouldn't give out more information about her, but just said, hey, we hear you guys. If you guys have complaints, you guys can actually call this line, because you guys are actually overwhelming our phone lines and we have to help our customers. So if you have complaints, you can contact these people, but please do not keep jamming up our phone lines, which I totally understand. And this woman actually said she didn't want that lady to be fired. She said she didn't want that lady to be fired. So Libs of TikTok posted this video of her.
I know people are calling for her to be fired for this. Do you think that that's right? Would you like that to happen?
No, I don't think that's right. Like, one thing I have, two wrongs make a right. Wrong to me, but I don't want to wrong her. I don't want her wrong, because it's not going to make it right. I mean, that was her opinion. But she's the one that put it on Facebook, or put it on that. So, but I really wouldn't want to see somebody lose their job over it.
I know people are calling.
Yeah, so sweet of her. She did point out that she is the one who decided to put it on social media. So if she is going to face the consequences of social media, then she's the author of her own demise. But that's sweet of her to not want her to lose her job. Do I think that she should lose her job? I think what's so disturbing, I mean, there's grace you can offer to anybody, but I think it's really concerning, especially when people were celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, and you're like, man, this person was a nurse, this person's a social worker, this person's a teacher. How are they supposed to care for the community and kids of parents that they disagree with so strongly if they are reveling in someone being murdered, or if they can't control themselves, if they're going to flip out? And I understand these people are human, but so are the people that they disagree with. Like, so, there's nuance and there's grace that you can offer, but I just, if you're so full of TDS or bias that you would treat people so cruelly, how are people going to expect that you're giving proper care, I guess? So, if she poorly reflects her employer to that degree, that's up to her employer whether or not they want to keep her. But it also shows really poor judgment as well. So if it were me, well, I mean, I guess it would probably just be a really poor reflection of the company. And I don't know, but I probably wouldn't want that drama and that she was the author of her own destruction at that point. And you have as an employee, like, you do have a responsibility to not inflict damage on the brand that you're representing. So you cannot like that she wore that shirt. Again, that's up for Target to decide, but red shirts and khakis are what the uniform is. And you wear your name badge. They're really big on the name badge that they give you. And if you don't have your name badge, there's one that in the back that'll say team member, but they really want you to wear the name badge that they made with your name on it. And it does not have to be a plain shirt. All these people are like, it's not a plain shirt, it's not a plain shirt. It doesn't have to be a plain shirt. And it's really up for Target to decide, and probably at the discretion of that particular store. Now they may say after this something like that's not appropriate, but Charlie Kirk, people keep saying he was a racist, but I keep every clip that they show me, it's out of context, or there's more information that we can debate about. And sometimes maybe he'd have the wrong figures. Like I mentioned the other day, someone said, well, how do you feel about Charlie Kirk saying that 2/3 of Black people, they don't have fathers in the homes, and Black culture pushes that and promotes that kind of stuff with welfare and mother and single mother stuff. And I'm like, well, 2/3 actually sounds kind of high. Maybe I don't know where he got that figure, but that sounds a little high to me. But it's true. Like, it's bad to not have fathers in the home. It doesn't matter what race you are. It's better to have a father in the home. And it's harder to raise children without two parents. We are designed to have two parents. You get your biological DNA from two people, and I believe that people should get married, have children, and raise the families together. And when that is disrupted, you do see some form of disruption in the society, especially the more that it occurs. And if you look at, I don't know, rap music and videos and TV shows, like it does promote degeneracy culture. So why am I going to be mad at something that he was right about, especially when Charlie's alternative was to promote people getting married, following the laws, the moral law codes that we see in the Bible. And, he was promoting good things. So why would I be upset? And so they got mad at my answer, like, oh, so you're okay with promoting this misinformation that leads to people being racist and all. I'm like, no, like I think you should get your facts right, assuming that the figure was wrong. I didn't fact check it or whatever, and I don't even know if he said 2/3. I was taking their word for it. But my point was that there are bad things that do actually happen, and I would like the people to apply the solutions that he at least talked about. And if you're not going to acknowledge the problems, then I don't really think you care about the Black community. You just want to call them a racist, and you just want me to be racist by association. So it's something that I have observed, is that a lot of people who are angry about Charlie Kirk being a racist are they themselves very much racist. That's not everybody, obviously, but that is very much been an experience that I'm having with a lot of people who will turn around and call me Sambo and other sorts of things as well. So, which off topic of the Charlie Kirk thing, but still on the vein of racist people. I posted a video yesterday about Tucker Carlson saying that evangelicals who support Israel are the villains in the story, which a little alarmed by how many people decided to agree with that. Even someone I knew was like, oh, Tucker's spot on, and dispensationalists, should feel threatened or something. And I'm just like, this is really gross. Like, what do you mean? Like, evangelicals who support Israel, you agree that they're the villains of the story? Like, what about Hamas? They're not the villains of the story. So anyway, people started saying wanted to get into like theological debates, and I didn't even like post it to get into theological debates or whatever. And I haven't told my following like you should support Israel because the Bible says so. I haven't said that. This hasn't been my contention at all. And people started saying things like, if you went to Israel, they treat you bad. They don't like Christians. They spit on Christians. They're so mean to Christians, and they don't like Black people, etc., etc. And I'm like, I've been to Israel, and they were actually very nice. And there were a lot of comments though, of people saying, they don't like Black people. How dare you? They would speak on this. You're a traitor, and don't waste your time, and you're a Sambo, and someone there are people talking about my teeth, which I like my Gap, so that's always a weird thing. And when people bring it up, anyway, and they, of course, people brought up like you're paid off 7K, etc., etc. But as someone who said something about my teeth, I was like, why would I get them fixed when my smile triggers you? And it's usually like a response I give to people, and they're like, I'm not triggered. Like, well, why'd you mention it? But this person responded with saying the N-word and saying that they commit more crime than Muslims in the US. And I'm like, where did that even come from? Why do you feel comfortable saying that word? We weren't even talking about that. And I'm like, in Dearborn, they just like foiled a terrorist plot. I thought about saying a bunch of different things like, like Islam Muslims, they follow a religion of a pedophile who stole his son's girl. I just opted to mention the Dearborn plot being foiled, but it was so weird. Savannah said my smile and my Gap is adorable. Thank you. Thank you. And someone said sad and pathetic when they resort to name calling. And then well, I'll screenshot this stuff and I'll post it, and people will say nice things in response to me and say, I'm really sorry that you have to get those kinds of remarks. And I appreciate, I guess, your sympathies and your concerns. I don't post them necessarily for that reason. I want people to know, though, that people believe those things and say those things, and that's how they react. And sometimes, like when I'm having debates about abortion or something and people say something crazy, I'll screenshot them and like post, because some people don't believe that there are those kinds of comments. Like when left-wing people say racist things, I'm like, screenshot, show it, because otherwise a lot of people will try to deny that those kind of comments go on. So I want people to be aware. I'm going to document it. I'm going to document it and frankly monetize my haters, I guess. But I just kind of want people to be aware. It's not like a woe is me thing. And some people are like, I don't know how you handle it. Well, I guess I'm used to it now. It is what it is. So just you do this stuff, crazy stuff in the comments, I'll just like expose it. People will send me death threats or tell me to take my own life, and sometimes they'll privately message that. My sister will see it and be like, you got some fan mail. And I don't know why people send it through Messenger, because I will still share it with everybody if they send it that way. It's not going to be private. I'm not offering you're not going to privately threaten me. You're not going to privately tell me to take my own life. Everyone will be able to see that you did that. So you guys can keep sending it privately. I'm not respecting your privacy when you tell me to do that on a social media messenger program. When you say that stuff to a stranger, you shouldn't expect that to remain private. Sometimes I do get real fan mail. When my sister said, she's like, oh, you got real fan mail. And I was like, and I replied to someone, I was like, oh, it's actually real fan mail this time. Yeah, so I appreciate people leaving kind comments and things like that. But yeah, I do want people to know how dark and evil this world is, and how insane and enraged some of these people are, when you don't agree with them. It's just kind of worth knowing, so people don't live in a naive little bubble, or when the left denies it, or it's not just the left that leaves crazy comments, but when they try to deny it, it's like, no, everybody can see what your side does and says when you when folks don't agree. So anyway, to this woman who harassed this lady at Target, or people who think about doing this kind of stuff, you just we should just pause on posting a lot of this crap online anyway. Like, you guys know about the DoorDash girl? We haven't talked about it in a while, not since she got arrested. There was a girl who decided she was door dashing. And so the instructions were to leave it at the door. And the door was, I don't know how open it was, but I guess it was open, and she claimed at one point it was wide open, which probably was not the case. But she opened the door, or decided to at least take a photo of the man who was sleeping on the couch, who had passed out drunk, and his pants were down. Maybe he was doing something when he was drunk, but he wasn't aware that he left the door kind of open, and fell asleep with his pants down. But she convinced herself that he door dashed and called her there on purpose so she could see his junk. And so she decided to take a photo. Well, no, it wasn't even a photo. She recorded him, and then she posted it online. And she posted online. She talked about it because I guess that's how she felt like she was going to get justice by exposing him to the world, and she classified that as sexual assault because she was exposed to something that she didn't want to see. And by that same sort of logic, did she not traffic in pornography and sexually assault everyone on TikTok? Because she posted on TikTok, guys. And so then people in her comments were like, you should totally talk to the police then. And she did end up contacting the police, and TikTok kept taking down her videos, and she would flip out like, TikTok is taking down my videos. Like, maybe it's because you have a man with his pants down in it or whatever. So she ended up contacting the police, and they did a report and stuff, and they're just kind of like, well, you did go into their home. And so they're like, okay, well, we'll talk to him and get his side of things. And then her account ended up being deactivated, and she flipped out on TikTok on DoorDash about that. And then people started like harassing DoorDash and leaving all kind of negative comments on their social medias and stuff. And so DoorDash had to respond and was like, this person violated their terms of agreement by videoing a customer. And that's what she did. And she would be screaming online like, I'm the victim and stuff. So turns out she ended up being arrested because she recorded this man online, which she admitted that, she thought that was going to be her justice or whatever. All the justice she would get was exposing him to the world, which wasn't legal. So there's like 2 counts against her, and she was in court. And so they didn't want I think cameras and stuff. And so the judge said like a snarky comment like, oh, so now you want a reasonable expectation of privacy. And when she was leaving out of the courtroom, her dad was like, covering her up with his jacket and stuff. And it just really goes to show you, people need to stop posting every little thing online. If she really thought that he was waiting there passed out to sexually assault her like that, then contacting the police and contacting DoorDash would have been the proper steps, not immediately going to the internet. That would have been the thing to do. But, she talked about at one point mentioning money or whatever, because if you post something that's over a minute on TikTok and you're in the creator rewards program or whatever, you get paid for that. And so she started racking up a lot of views. She's like, they took my video down and it was over a minute. They were gonna have to pay me for that. It's like, okay, so now we're seeing there's a financial incentive also on top of humiliating this man, that why you're posting some of these videos. And maybe the temptation is really there for a lot of people. However, you don't know how that's going to blow back on you. And a lot of people are using really poor judgment. Obviously, what she did was a crime, and it was always a crime. There were a lot of people who were really going to bat to defend her. But again, if that was sexual assault to her, it was obviously sexual assault to everybody that she exposed it to. And there was also a lot of reasonable explanations to why he might have been on his couch. Well, obviously he was drunk, like, but he could have been having a medical emergency, and if there was a woman in that kind of situation, passed out, exposed, how would you feel if a man came in and recorded her like that? If you saw a woman in that kind of situation, you would probably maybe assume that something might have been done to her, that maybe she was in harm, and you would call the 911 or something. But she went in and she recorded this guy, and her plan was to humiliate him online. And so she got into serious trouble for that. And it also goes to show you, parents out there, this was a grown woman. She was a young woman, but a grown woman. So that it is on her. But parents, please just kind of watch what your kids are doing online, because I promise you, many of them are out there embarrassing you and getting themselves into a world of trouble. So just like say, hey, maybe you got to sit down and just have some common sense conversations with your young children, and unfortunately maybe your grown children, about online etiquette. Because she really screwed herself over, and who's still there in the courtroom with her dad. Her dad. So I would get into conversations with young people all the time, debating about different things, particularly on abortion and other subjects, and I promise you, some of them are embarrassing you online. They say the dumbest things. They say the absolute dumbest things. And not all young people. Like, I was a pretty smart young person. There's people out there who are pretty wise. But even some of the pretty wise people can be like hotheads and stuff online and stuff too. So parents, you just might want to have some conversations with your kids about what they decide to post online. So, the Target lady here who's harassing the employee, she obviously got more than she bargained for. And, the DoorDash girl, she got more than she bargained for. So I just want to push back against this inclination that so many people have to just voice so much stuff on the internet. And, I've been guilty of like sharing. There was one particular incident, I won't go into details, but I put something online, and then someone else like saw it, and it just kind of made me look bad, and other stuff. And I'm like, I really shouldn't have posted that, and I ended up taking it down. And I was like, man, that was really poor judgment. So it's not that everybody can't fall temptation to that, but just really, really think about stuff before you post it. There's just other ways to go about that. But she obviously wanted to get that old lady fired for wearing that shirt. And this woman has a lot more grace toward her than she was going to extend her. Someone said the lady recorded that she opened the door wider and stepped into his home. She committed a crime. Yeah. She said a bunch of different stories. I don't know if it came out that there was ring camera or what in the court cases, but she changed her story. Apparently there was a video where it was the first one that she posted, that it was just a jar, and there were reports that it was just a jar, and then she claimed it was wide open. So she kept changing her stories about it, but one way or another, what she did was criminal. So I was always like, this DoorDash story isn't making sense. And again, back to this, the whole, like, it could have been possible that someone ordered food for him. Not every time when someone orders food, they're the ones who place the order. People might order food to send to a loved one, or they may order whether it's at their house or at their job, and people might order food and then go to sleep or pass out or whatever. Because sometimes, and she's like, why would you order food and immediately go to sleep then? Since when does DoorDash immediately bring you food? That's not how it works. You order sometimes I'm like, I have the DoorDash app or whatever. I've only used it when I was out of town. I've never ordered food while I was at home, because the time it takes, if I have a vehicle or whatever, I'm just going to go pick up the food. Because if I'm like 10 minutes from a place and it's going to take 40 minutes for my food to get here, I'm like, I would just rather go throw on some clothes, go pick up some food and come back and have my food than pay the extra fees for it to come really late. Because you put in the order, they have to make the food, and then a driver has to agree to go get it. And there might be reasons why a dasher might have the order, then not pick it up, or someone else might grab it or what, and take it and steal it. There's just so many factors that might delay your order from actually being picked up. And people who don't tip well, because DoorDash, I don't know how it works for every city or whatever, the base pay might vary, but the least they're going to pay you is $2 to pick up that order. So if someone doesn't tip you anything, someone might not pick up your order because it's only a $2 order, and it'll just be sitting there. There's so many factors. Like, to just assume that he was waiting there with his pants down to just get her to so she could see his dingling, it was just a reach. And for her to want to punish him over that, like, I can understand being exposed and not wanting to see something, but someone said, I refuse to pay an extra 5+ delivery fees. Just pick it up myself. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. The last time I ordered DoorDash, I was in DC, and yeah, I was in DC. I don't live in DC, and I just wanted something to the hotel to eat that night or whatever. And I some of the restaurants, their fees are higher than others, but I think while we were there in DC, we DoorDashed Panda Express, which apparently is pretty high on the app. I didn't know it was. And McDonald's one night. McDonald's got there pretty fast, but yeah, it's DC. I don't like to travel in. I don't like to go there. It's not my city. Not a beloved one, for sure. I'll go there for if I have to, for business, and if the Lord says go. Otherwise, I'm not too fond of DC. Anyway, let's move on. There was a story that I saw about ICE and someone who is a murder suspect, who was a person of interest, who was allowed to get away, or was released back into the wild, rather. And I've heard this story too many times. So Bill Mulligan, if you're not following him on X, I recommend that you do, because he posts a lot of good nuggets with this type of information. ICE confirms that a murder suspect arrested for shooting and killing a man in Reston, Virginia, yesterday is a Salvadorian illegal alien who had just been released from Fairfax County, Virginia jail the day beforehand, with ICE's detainer request ignored. This is crazy. This is crazy. Who gets held accountable for this stuff? 23-year-old Marvin Morales Ortez, a citizen of El Salvador, was arrested yesterday following a manhunt after a man was found shot and killed inside of a home in Reston, Virginia. Morales Ortez had been in Fairfax County jail while facing charges for brandishing a gun and assaulting and injuring someone, but he was released on Tuesday when the case was dropped. ICE says their detainer to transfer him to their custody was ignored by Fairfax County. After his release on Tuesday, Fairfax County police say that an emergency custody order was obtained for Morales due to mental health danger concerns. They looked for him to take him into custody, but they were unable to find him. He is accused of committing the murder just hours later. Morales has a prior rap sheet showing he's been charged with at least 7 crimes in Fairfax County since 2020. ICE statement on December 17th, Marvin Fernando Morales Ortez, a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador with prior criminal charges for assaulting law enforcement first responders, allegedly gunned down a Virginia resident in Reston, Virginia. Fairfax County failed the victim by refusing to work with ICE and releasing this criminal alien onto Virginia streets instead of safely into ICE custody. If Fairfax County would have simply worked to uphold our nation's laws, then this tragedy may have never happened. It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Unfortunately, Virginia just, went back blue again. But why? Why? We talked about a story last week. There was a headline that said that like 2/3, no, it wasn't even 2/3, like they said maybe a third of people that have been deported don't have like some kind of criminal history, I guess, other than like illegally crossing the border. And I had said that why that numbers is really good because I would have assumed it was higher from the Trump administration. But if you want them to focus on the worst of the worst, it would be easier for them to round up these people and deport them if they could get cooperation from law enforcement. When ICE says to hold these people and they're illegal, but you want to release them back into the wild because what, you don't want them to be deported? You don't want to hold them? You want to be a sanctuary state? You have an obligation to the citizens of your state, of your county, of your community to make sure that they are safe, to make sure that people are obeying the laws. So what is this for? Just resistance for just toxic empathy? Out of spite? What is it? We've seen this story too many times. And now someone is dead. Another someone is dead because someone who shouldn't be here took their life. And you could have been a part of the process to send them home where they belong. And you can't get back that life. Who's held accountable for these things? Who is held accountable for these things? And the media will go out of their way to show you videos. There's one woman just yelling, I'm an American citizen. I'm an American citizen. They're detaining an American citizen. Do you guys see that viral video? It was of a woman who was with her, I guess, boyfriend who was an illegal, and she didn't want to give any information, which is also garbage. Like, oh my gosh, they detained an American citizen for a little while, and then they let you go once they found out who you were. When you are involved in some kind of crime or someone else is committing a crime and you are with them, you might get detained for a little bit until they figure out whether or not you should be charged. It happens all the time to people involved in criminal situations. That doesn't happen to me, but it happens. Oh my gosh, they separated the children from the parent. That happens all the time to citizens who commit crime. They don't put your children in jail with you. They don't arrest you and put your kids in the back of the cop car. That's not how it works. So why are you crying so much for when it happens to someone who doesn't belong in the country? It's just these special privileges that they put on these illegal aliens, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Someone have to explain this to me because it doesn't make any sense. And unfortunately, again, Virginia, they just voted blue. They had their opportunity to put in Winsome Sears and some other Republicans, but they decided they want it back in blue, which Virginia is, they got lucky with Youngkin, and they really did use the shutdown to also, push things in their favor as far as the election goes. Because after the elections, it was kind of like, we can vote on restoring the government. I was going back through some of my likes in my things I bookmark throughout, the last couple weeks, and then I got back to, early November and October and stuff. I'm just like, this was a crazy time, just thinking about not too long ago how we were arguing about the shutdown and Democrats trying to act like it was the Republicans who were shutting down the government when they continuously kept voting to close it. Our news cycles just go so crazy fast, man. But that was a wild time, and they clearly use that for politics. It was also going to be hard for Winsome Sears too, because a lot of people who are impacted by different tightening of the money belts with Doge and things like that in Washington were people who live in Virginia. So there was a lot of things that were kind of working against her in that race. And there's, I guess, more things on the ground that maybe I'm not, as a non-local, I wouldn't be accustomed to, but or wouldn't know off the top of my head. But it's too bad. It's too bad. It's really too bad. Speaking of too bad, there's some people in Australia who's really upset at their government after what happened at the Hanukkah celebration, where the father and son decided to take out some Jewish people, and there was, I believe, 15 deaths, and one of them was a Holocaust survivor. And people were saying the police were just hiding, it was like 20 minutes going on, and the police weren't really doing anything, which is like unconscionable to me. And in this particular interview, they're saying the police were hiding behind a car. And this reminds me of like when there was the kids that were being shot up in a school and they wouldn't let the parents in, and then eventually someone like went in with I think a gun that a barber had, and then took out the shooter, Uvalde. That was a crazy story, especially because there were a lot of red flags with the person being crazy. I mean, real red flags that they just let escalate. But obviously there's been a lot of anti-Semitism around the world, but in Australia right after October the 7th, and it was like a day or two afterwards, people were chanting "Gas the Jews" and all kinds of crazy stuff. And they keep importing some people into their country that don't really gel with their values, and they don't have a Second Amendment like we do. There was a mass shooting that happened some years ago, so they decided to confiscate their guns, and a lot of people were just unfortunately sitting ducks. And the government's their response is, well, we need more gun laws. I don't understand how the father had like 6 weapons, and the son was like known to have like, where they investigated him having terrorist ties, and they didn't really do anything with it then. But it's just a crazy time.
Were hiding behind a car. I tried to grab one of their guns. One of the other one grabs and he says, "No, I'm trying to grab for his gun." These men, these police officers, they know who I am, and I hope they're hearing this. You are weak. You could have saved so many more people's lives. They were just standing there, listening and watching this all happen, holding me back. 2 police officers. Where were the others? Not there. Nobody was there. Everyone, the public, helped. Nobody else. My little 3-year-old was saved by a pregnant woman who saw her crying and screaming, "Mummy, Daddy." We were there. There was not. Do you know how long did it take for police to come? How long did it take?
Just,
Oh, I was too scared.
Yeah.
These
Yeah, that's crazy to me. When people were saying it was like 20 minutes and people just, and it was like close to like a station. The station wasn't that far away. And there are bystanders obviously that was trying to do stuff or was like shielding different people, died shielding people. There was a Muslim man that ended up taking a gun, wrestling the gun away from one of the shooters, and then didn't shoot them back, and they just kind of like went away. But I know there are risks to having the freedom of the Second Amendment, but I just would not want to be in a situation where I'm a sitting duck like that. And like when you go to like a Republican event, you know if something pops off, there's a lot of people who can do something about it. You know, there's a lot of people who could do something about it. And this is all too bad. It's all too bad. And the lesson that they're going to take away from all this is that we need stricter gun laws, and not really to think about the immigration process. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm going to call it a quits here and go and get some dinner. I don't know if you can hear my tummy rumbling, but all I had was 2 waffles. So I'm going to go get the Lord's Chicken, Chick-fil-A. So anyway, that's the dinner plan tonight. I haven't had it in a minute. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go blackstnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost to stream my site. And all just to stream, to run the website, all that. So you guys can support. I very much appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. You guys can check out different merch that's available on the website as well, like different mugs and t-shirts. So go ahead and check that stuff out. You guys can also check out my different books that I have available. I have, again, picture books, children's chapter books, like Super Kid, which is a really good story if you want something with some wholesome values and stuff. It's about a kid with an overactive imagination who thinks he has superpowers. He doesn't really, but he teams up with his friends, Princess Lady Diva and Stickman, to just kind of do good around the community. So it's a really funny, heartwarming story. Also about, you know, family dynamics and relationships and believing in yourself, and, you know, that you are special just kind of on your own if you choose to do good. So go ahead and pick that up, and my other books as well. And God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.